church where everybody's welcome. I know it's true 'cause I got through the door. We are a dazzling bouquet of every kind of flower. Jump in the vase 'cause we got space for more. Come here, all you 6-foot gladiolas. Come, all you purple lilacs shining bright. Come, let us all bloom together in the garden. A carnival of fragrance and delight. Mine is the church where everybody's welcome. I know it's true 'cause I got through the door. We are a dazzling bouquet of every kind of flower. Jump in the vase 'cause we've got space for more. We don't simply tolerate each other. We ask and tell, we don't just turn away. We give attention to every bud and blossom. Let every face come grace the grand bouquet. Mine is the church where everybody's welcome. I know it's true 'cause I got through the door. We are a dazzling bouquet of every kind of flower. Jump in the vase 'cause we've got space for more.
Good morning and welcome to St. Francis in the Foothills. This is Pastor Jim. It is so good to have you here with us today. The celebration center remains closed and empty, and I am missing your hearts here. So I'm glad that we get together every Sunday so that I can feel your spirits. I can see that you're still with me, and that we will make it through all of this. I have a couple of announcements for you. First of all, there's a couple of new classes that are available that are coming up. One is on how to be an anti-racist. That's Ibram Kendi's book, and we'd love to have you be part of that. That will begin at the beginning of September. And then a couple weeks before that, I'm starting a movie class. Both of those are in the newsletter that Melissa sent out to you. So please read that newsletter. I'd love for you to start choosing the movies that we can look at and decide how to find God in those movies. Also, I want to invite you to be part of something for Tihan. Tihan has continued to do amazing work in the midst of the shutdown, and they have been active, and they need your help. Every month, they do their regular Pause Cafe, and they need you to help with the supplies that they give out to the participants. And so if you would like to do that, there is a drive coming up this Wednesday, and we need you to bring stuff. It's at the Nova building, which is on the corner of Alvernon and Broadway, if I'm not mistaken. And if you'll bring things by there, it's from 3 to 6 in the afternoon. The information went out in an email, I want to say on Thursday. So look through that and please become part of that effort to help Tihan. Also know that they are providing food throughout this time. And so if you can think about giving an extra donation to Tihan, they would love to have that donation. That is all the announcements that I have. Please watch as Ellie and Lee's grandchildren, Matthew and Andrew, light our candle.
You Learn by Loving by Joan Chittister. As Aldous Huxley wrote, there isn't any formula or method. You learn by loving. But sometimes, if we're lucky, we live long enough to grow into it in such a way that because of it, we come to recognize the value of life. We learn enough about love to allow things to slip away and ourselves to melt into the God whose love made all of it possible. Sometimes we live long enough to see the face of God in another. Then, in that case, we have loved.
I believe that it's a miracle that I found you and made you mine. And it's a miracle how love can grow so much in so little time. And I thank you every day in so many ways. I just can't get over the power of love, the power of love can move a mountain, but nothing can move me. And I feel the power when we touch. And I love you so much. I just can't get over the power of love. In my life, I've had so much happiness, but the greatest joy that I've ever found was the fulfillment of every person's dream to find love and call it your own. And our love grows every day in so many ways. I just can't get over the power of love, the power of love can move a mountain, but nothing can move me. And I feel the power when we touch. And I love you so much. I just can't get over the power of love.
Hi, boys and girls. I hear it's a special time for you, back to school time, but that word is kind of a little bit different than usual. Back to school, because you really don't get to go back into your school, do you? You're sitting at your house and doing school, at least for a while. And so everything's a little bit different. Everything's a little bit off. It's just a little bit strange in the school business these days. The good news is you have teachers who have been working hard already to make it as easy and as comfortable for you, even though you're still going to have to do some hard work. But to make it so that you are going to continue to do everything you need to do. They're going to work to keep you as safe as possible, and they are going to help you to learn. Now, your job is to try to make the best of what's challenging. You know, your moms and dads and all the people here at St. Francis have been doing the same thing. They'd all like to do things a little bit differently than how they're doing it right now. But we don't get a choice. Sometimes we step into the role that's given to us. And that role today is to stay isolated, stay safe, and help everyone else stay safe. So as you go back to school, work hard, do all the things you're supposed to do, but remember that you have people around you who are loving you and caring for you, even when they're far away. Your teacher is doing that. Your parents, who aren't always far away, they're doing that. And I'm here at St. Francis, remembering you and holding you in my heart. Please know that you are loved. Thank you, boys and girls.
Think of your fellow man, give him a helping hand, put a little love in your heart.
You see it's getting late, oh please don't hesitate, put a little love in your heart, and the world will be a better place. You know the world will be a better place
For you,
and me.
you just wait and see.
Another day goes by and still the children cry, put a little love in your heart. If you want the world to know we won't let hatred grow, put a little love in your heart, and the world will be a better place. You know the world will be a better place
For you,
and me. You just wait and see.
put a little love in your heart.
Put a little love in your heart.
Put a little love in your heart. A little love in your heart. A little love in your heart.
Take a good look around, and if you're looking down, put a little love in your heart. I hope when you decide kindness will be your guide, put a little love in your heart, and the world will be a better place. You know the world will be a better place
For you,
and me. You just wait and see. Put a little love in your heart. Put a little love in your heart. Put a little love in your heart. A little love in your heart. A little love in your heart.
Hello, my name is Beth Akery, and I've been asked to share a little bit about myself and how I came to St. Francis. I'm a lifelong Methodist, and I've lived in Tucson for 28 years. A couple years ago, I decided that I wanted to make a change from the church I was attending. I loved the church, and I admired the diversity of the congregation, but I felt like we were frequently tiptoeing around many important issues, especially politically charged ones. I came to the realization that my politics reflect who I am as a person and as a Christian, and I longed to be part of a congregation that was willing to speak out and that I felt comfortable in. After visiting St. Francis a few times, I discovered that you don't tiptoe around anything. For example, I'd been following the Moms Demand Action organization and was planning to attend a rally they were holding last August. And I was thrilled when St. Francis sent out emails and announced in church that many from the congregation would be attending and encouraged everyone to join them. About the same time, the Methodist Church was ramping up for continued discussions on how our denomination would respond to a growing divide around issues of inclusivity. I know some churches held meetings outside of worship, and I know some churches never even mentioned it during worship. But St. Francis is not your parents' Methodist church. I was amazed at your response, making a bold public statement that we as a congregation will accept nothing less than true open hearts, minds, and doors for our LGBTQ brothers and sisters, and signing that statement as a congregation during worship. More recently, I've been involved in the signature gathering to get the Invest in Education proposal on the ballot this November to restore funding for public education. And my heart was warmed to hear that St. Francis opened their doors on a Saturday and encouraged our members to come and sign the petition. So I feel like I found my people who simply choose love. I attend the 1045 service during normal times, and I've been involved with the In Project and the Casa Maria Sandwich Brigade. To support the ministry of St. Francis, I give online. It's so easy, and I set up a recurring donation so that when I'm not in town or stuck at home during a pandemic, my donation still makes its way to church. I look forward to meeting all of you that I may not have met yet. God bless.
Where we will live forever. You alone know of that day when we will want no more. Help me, Lord, to live each day as though I had no more. Give me strength to take each breath and thank you for my life. You, oh Lord, know of that place where we will live forever. You alone know of that day when we will want no more. Fear will not
Beloved God, we are stopping for a moment this morning to reach out to you and ask for your guidance in finding the vision that allows us to see you in the world we live in. There's a darkness that is clouding so much of what is happening around us. There are days when the darkness envelops us, robbing us of any chance to see that love is still there inside of us and everyone we meet. We are learning that the old ways of separation and fear are not the path to grace. Please send us your guidance in how to find the gate in our fences, put a ladder up against our walls, lift the veils of our fears, and shine light on the love that lives in all of us. Our time is now. Love our destination. Amen.
Romans 8:35-39. Who will separate us from the love of Christ? Will hardship or distress or persecution or famine or nakedness or peril or sword? No. In all these things we are more than conquerors through the one who loved us. For I am convinced that neither death nor life, nor angels, nor rulers, nor things present, nor things to come, nor powers, nor height, nor depth, nor anything else in all creation will be able to separate us from the love of God.
As we continue with our prayer time, I have several things to lift up. Three of them not quite good, and one of them very joyous thing. First of all, we need to remember the people in Beirut and the aftermath of that explosion and everything that's going on. So please hold them in your heart. But we have two that are much closer to home. I want you to continue to pray for Robbie Dick as she approaches closer to the end of her life. Please hold her in your prayers and in your heart as that time comes. Also, Jane Merrifield fell this week and is in the hospital right now. But keep her and Jane in your her and Jane. Yes, I said that right. In your prayers as they move forward. But our last prayer is about those of you who are getting older. It is our happy birthday time. If you have a birthday in August, will you let us honor you today? And here's the trio to sing for us. Thank you, trio.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, everybody. Happy birthday to you. A happy birthday to you. A happy birthday to you. A happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you. Oh, happy birthday to you.
On Monday, Joni and I decided to take a little break from our normal. And knowing that Mount Lemmon was open again, we decided to drive up to the top of the mountain. Part of our reasoning is because we wanted to see just what that fire had done. And at first we were thinking we were doing all right. This isn't too bad. But then we went behind the mountain and saw the other side, and that other side is devastating. That side's completely burnt off, and it's just horrible. Look at this picture that I took. It was just disheartening to see all the damage that had been done by that. As soon as we got past Mount Bigelow, we saw nothing but fire damage on the right-hand side the whole way up. And I was reminded of a passage from Ezekiel 37 that talks about a valley full of bones, and they were very dry. And this picture kind of shows what I thought that valley might look like. And in the midst of that valley, a voice came and said, "Mortal, can these bones live?" And I felt an awful lot like Ezekiel when his angel spoke to him, and he spoke back and said, "Well, you know," almost as if to say, "I don't, I have no clue. Doesn't look like it to me. Looks like it's just devastation here. Can I see life in the midst of this?" And we were amazed how much that devastation took and how close it got to Summer Haven. In this next picture, you can see this ridge right here where the fire damage is. That runs right along the road that goes into Summer Haven. And so it's literally just feet away from buildings. And I was reminded of the fire that swept through here in 2003 and all the damage that happened there, taking out almost every building in that space. And this time, somehow, they stopped it right there. And I wanted to say about all this devastation, it is what it is. But even among the devastation, I saw and felt hope. Look back at that first picture and look down here in the corner of that first picture. And in the midst of all that gray and black of the soot, there's green growing. There was this huge little bush right here, about a foot high. And if you look past it, you can see a whole bunch more down on the valley, on the side of the mountain down below. And in the second picture, you can see over here on the left-hand side, a whole bunch of plants growing, ferns growing wonderfully and well all over, holding the dirt down, bringing back something. And at first, I saw only the devastation. But as I watched, I saw that it was not just devastation, but new life that I was seeing as well. Look back along that ridge that I talked about earlier. Right behind it, you see another ridge that in 2003 was completely burnt. And look how much greenery there is there. Look how much has come back. Look how much it's showing us the promise of the future. And then I remembered the rest of Ezekiel 37, where Ezekiel is told, "Prophesy to these bones and say, 'Oh, dry bones, I will lay sinews on you and cause flesh to come upon you and cover you in skin, and I will cause breath to enter you, and you shall live again. So I prophesied as I had been commanded. O breath, come from the four winds and breathe on these slain that they may live. And the breath came into them, and they lived and stood on their feet, a vast multitude. You see, we all live in relative desolation right now. All the different things that have been sweeping across us, all the crises that we've had to face, leave us less than perfect, darkened by the soot of whatever has burnt us. But God calls us into an active role. God doesn't just fix the bones, but calls us to call out to those bones, to pronounce that life is possible again. And the key is that we have to be in an active role in life. God didn't just say, stand back while I do the work. Ezekiel was told to work. And on Mount Lemon, every single plant has a part of that work. No plant is going to fix the mountain by itself, but each one gives life to a space, gives stability to ground that might be swept away in the next rain, gives some strength to a mountain devastated, brings life back, each one doing their small but essential part. I saw a quote this week that said, if you see someone fall behind, walk beside them. If you see someone being ignored, find a way to include them. Always remind people of their worth. One small act could mean the world to them. In short, in your world, wherever it is that you're at in the midst of this devastation, I need you to, in the words of our motto, choose love. For you see, I can't be in all those places where you're at. I can't bring back all the challenges that are there, but you can. You can be there to bring love, to choose love, to help people find love once again in the midst of whatever they're facing. A couple months ago, one of our children sang the song You Say by Lauren Daigle, and the chorus is just amazing. It goes, you say I am loved when I can't feel a thing. You say I am strong when I think I am weak. And you say I am held when I am falling short. That's what we need to do, is forever say to each other a truth that maybe in that moment we can't quite figure out. But the key is to love first, to see that person over there and choose to love them. And it's not a perfect formula, as our call to awareness said. There isn't any formula or method that works perfectly. You learn by loving. You learn by practicing. You learn by reaching out and caring and trying to grow into it. But Sister Chittister says, sometimes we live long enough to grow into it in such a way that we come to recognize the value of life. We learn enough to allow ourselves to melt into the God whose love made it all possible. But it means we have to step beyond the old story that is being told around us, and we have to step into something that's bigger and better and more than just that story. Brooke Hampton said it this way, no, we don't need more sleep. It's our souls that are tired, not our bodies. We need nature. We need magic. We need adventure. We need freedom. We need truth. We need stillness. We don't need more sleep. We need to wake up and live. In the midst of all this slowdown, it becomes easy for us to think we just need to rest more. We need to stop more. We need to isolate more. And in reality, what we need to do is continue to believe in the magic and the adventure and the glory of what it is that the divine brings to us. The old story is one that we tell easily and well, so well that we no longer challenge its validity. And we need to challenge it. Robert Frost wrote an amazing poem about a wall and about two neighbors who had to fix that wall. It's called The Mending Wall. And in it he says, "But at the spring mending time, we find the stones there, and I let my neighbor know beyond the hill, and on a day we meet to walk the line and set the wall between us once again, taking the stones that had fallen and putting them back up." But then he comes to this recognition. We do not need the wall. He is all pine, and I am apple orchard. My apple trees will never get across and eat the cones under his pines, I tell him. He only says, good fences make good neighbors. Why do they make good neighbors? Isn't it where there are cows? But here there are no cows. Before I built a wall, I'd ask to know what I was walling in or walling out, and to whom I was like to give offense. Something there is that doesn't love a wall. But he will not go behind his father's saying, and he likes having thought of it so well. He says again, good fences make good neighbors. See, we often repeat that type of story, thinking it continues to speak to today. But do good fences make good neighbors? Or is it time to rethink what we have thought before? Maya Angelou, that great prophetess, the woman who has spoken so well into our life and into our hearts, says, hate, it has caused a lot of problems in the world, but has not solved one yet. You might have noticed there's an election coming up. And for some reason this year, it seems like all the ads are pretty different than usual. It seems like all the candidates are against each other, that they're extremely negative in some way or another, or is that just my imagination? Over the next couple months, there's hard work in front of us because of that election. And part of the hard work is not the winning, but the being human in the midst of it. Ann Richards, one of my personal favorite governors from the state of Texas, said, I want to urge you in these months to make waves. I want to urge you to rock the boat. I want to urge you to get off your duff. I want to urge you to speak out, and we need to do all that. This is work that needs our finest effort. But in the midst of that, we have to remember what we are truly facing. David Brooks in the New York Times wrote an opinion piece that said that America is facing 5 crises at once. And then he goes on in his conclusion to say, and if you think we can deal with racial disparity, reform militaristic police departments, and address an existential health crisis and a prolonged economic depression by taking the cultural war up a notch, I think you're mistaken. What we need is the dogged, boring work of government, which means we have to get into the trenches and relate to each other. Not just make each other enemies, because we've seen how much that has pushed us apart and how little we have gotten done. And instead, we need to go towards each other. One of the early church fathers was a man called Justin. He bears the name martyr because he was later killed because of who he was. But he said this in how it is that he tried to live his Christian life. We used to hate and destroy one another and refuse to associate with each other. Now, because of Christ, we live together with such people and pray for our enemies. Pray for our enemies. Love our enemies. One of the most revolutionary things that Jesus ever said. And yet, one of the hardest things for us to live. One of the most interesting things about other people's views of Christianity is they look from the outside and they think where we think we are loving and caring and being the community we ought to be, very often they look at Christian churches and say, why is it so hard for you guys to love? We have to change that perception. In every moment, we have to love universally and completely, especially because it is love that almost everyone is seeking, even the people who you are arguing with, even the people that it is harder for you to love. But as our group sang, put a little love in your heart. Move towards that other person. The musical Wicked is about two witches that we often write off as being enemies. The wicked witch of the West and the good witch of the South, Elphaba and Glinda. And they sing a song in that musical called For Good. And in it they say this: who can say if I have been changed for the better because of the relationship that the two of them have? But I know that I have been changed for good. See, when we step into relationships, even when that other person seems to be wrong, even when that other person seems to be against us, when we step towards them, we change both of us in indelible ways. Catherine McKinnock said, now every time I witness a strong person, I look at them and I want to know, what dark did you conquer in your story? Because mountains don't rise without earthquakes. You see that other person, the one you're struggling with, the one on the other side of your political divide, the one who you oppose politically, there's some story that brought them to that place. And maybe the best gift you can give to yourself is to hear that story. Even if it doesn't change the relationship between you and the other person, just being there in that story will change you for good, so that you will be something you've never been before. I've been struck this last few months by a singer named Taylor Momsen. Here's her picture. She's the lead singer for a group called The Pretty Reckless, and they have all kinds of interesting music, none of which I can really repeat too much in church, but it's good music. She sings things like this: oh Lord, heaven knows we belong way down below. And in her newest song, it says, on my tombstone when I go, just put death by rock and roll. What's interesting about Taylor Momsen, who is singing these hard rock songs and is amazing in this new career, is this is not her first career. As a 7-year-old, she played Cindy Lou Who in the movie about the Grinch, where the Grinch was trying to steal Christmas and ruin it for everyone. And she played a vital place in that movie. As the Grinch comes in as Santa Claus, she's the Who that wakes up. And Cindy Lou sees Santa, and she says the most interesting thing to that Santa, who underneath the beard and the red suit is really the Grinch stealing Christmas. And looks at her and says, to Santa, don't forget the Grinch. I know he's mean and hairy and smelly. His hands might be cold and clammy, but I think he's actually kind of sweet. And in that attempt to see her enemy as something better than what he was, in that attempt to see her enemy as somebody better than who she knew, in that attempt to love, Cindy Lou Who changed the story. And the Grinch began to change, and his heart started that growth to what it could be. And it reminds me of that song that we often sing that says, you make beautiful things. You make beautiful things out of the dust. You make beautiful things. You make beautiful things out of us. That's what happens when we believe in love, when we allow love to come in and change us instead of us trying to change that other person completely. Who will separate us from the love of Christ was my favorite verse in the Bible. Who will separate us? Will hardship or distress or persecution or famine or nakedness or peril or sword? No, in all these things we are more than conquerors through the one who loved us. I'm convinced that neither death, nor life, nor angels, nor rulers, nor things present, nor things to come, nor powers, nor height, nor depth, nor anything else in all creation will be able to separate us from the love of God. The work in front of us is challenging and difficult, not just because it's hard to accomplish, but also it's hard to accomplish and continue to be the people we need to be. In these next couple months, we have hard work to do. But remember love. Choose love. Be there in the midst of that work, making it so that everyone can sense the presence of God around them, even the one who's most your enemy. Richard Rohr says, we cannot attain the presence of God because we're already in the presence of God. What's absent is awareness. In these crucial months, as we try to solve through these 5 crises that we have, as we try to figure out how to move into the next thing of what we need to be, let us remember this verse about never being separated from the love of God. And let us remember that as we bring it to everyone else as well. I have a favorite song. It's called One Thing Remains, and it talks about the higher than the mountains that I face, stronger than the power of the grave, constant through the trial and the change. One thing remains. Your love never fails, it never gives up, never runs out on me. Your love never fails, never gives up, never runs out on me. Your love never fails, never gives up, never runs out on me. Your love. May we remember that love, especially as we move to those spaces which aren't always lovely. Remember to bring love there. Carry it with you so that all may realize that they are loved as well. Amen.
Make me a channel of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me bring your love. Where there is injury, your pardon, Lord. And where there's doubt, true faith in you. Oh, Master, grant that I may never speak so much to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love with all my soul. Make me a channel of your peace. Where there's despair in life, let me bring hope. Where there is darkness, only light. And where there's sadness, ever joy. Oh, Master, grant that I may never seek so much to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love with all my soul. Make me a channel of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me bring your love. Where there
So as you get ready to listen to the Raggedy Band sing us out, I want to tell you that they have a bit of a surprise for you for next week. So please come and watch what it is that the Raggedy Band is going to tell you. Remember, oh Raggedy Band, that you are. Remember how much you are loved. Remember how much that person over beside you who is equally raggedy, how much they are loved. Remember to bring that song, that music, that love to everyone, even those that are smelly and difficult and challenging like the Grinch. Remember to love them anyway. Amen.
The Raggedy Band keeps a marching along, folks keeping rhythm to the beat of a song that a little boy's playing on a dime kazoo. Holes in his hands match the holes in his shoes, leading down the alley with the Raggedy Band, stretching all the way to the promised land. Boom, take it, boom, take it, boom, take it, boom. Boom, take it, boom, take it, boom, take it, boom. A washboard drummer beating four to a line, chopsticks beating down a bottle of wine. Stand on the corner, you can see them coming. Tax collector and a okay coming. Coming down the alley with the Raggedy Band, stretching all the way to the promised land. Boom, take it, boom, take it, boom, take it, boom. Boom, tick a tick a tick a boom, tick a tick a tick a boom, tick a tick a tick a boom. A fisherman, a whiner, and an ex-politician, dog and a drummer and a mathematician, cowbell and a robber walking side by side, judge and a voter for the election right.